We're all going to die. All of us. What a circus. That alone should make us love each other, but it doesn't. We are terrorized and flattened by trivialities. We are eaten up by nothing. That's a quote by Charles Bukowski. I ran across this line the other day, and over the years I've written a lot, but man, I wish I could write something that hits people hard like this. We are terrorized and flattened by trivialities. Oh, I love that line, and I thought, well, I want to dissect this thing down, because I think it resonates very deeply. So welcome everyone. Before I get too far, I'm glad you're joining us for the first time, or welcome back. I'm Dr. David Hopkins. I'm a humanities professor, your host and your guide for, almost 130 episodes now. And we are in a series on education. So you might be thinking, if you've been tuning in for that, what the heck is this? Why are we diving into some obscure philosopher? Let's talk about college costs. Let's talk about college choice, debt, or even is college worth it? Something real practical. So I get it. And if you're wondering that, let me give you the most practical superpower you can ever have in life, including your education. And that's the ability to think critically and deeply. So please stay with me. I know it sounds abstract. I know it sounds, you're just a humanities professor talking about something that you just can't learn. But when I unpack this little quote, I think it might bring some things to light, bring some self-reflection into who you are and how you think and what you want to be. I know for me personally, it sort of put me in my tracks when I heard that for a second or two. As you know, in the end, I'm going to answer tons of practical, real-world questions about education during this entire series. And while I've been so encouraged by the responses so far, but at the end of the day, what I want for you more than anything else, as the podcast name says, I want you to have intellectual freedom. Freedom from the status quo, generic, simpleton ideas that are just swirling out there, things that are accepted just because, and we don't question things, right in front of our face that we can see and we can feel in our bones, and they're just not quite right, but we have talking heads in media and social media, and they keep just saying, no, follow me, follow this, do that, or whatever. And my hope is that you reject all that. But anyways, let's dive into my new friend here, Charles Bukowski. Now, admittedly, even as a humanities professor, I'd be lying if I said I knew much about this guy. I had never even heard of him, actually, until I ran across these few lines, and it just grabbed me and caused me to go deeper into it. But now, looking into Bukowski, I don't think in this quote he was being morbid or some nihilist spouting off about the meaninglessness of it all. I think he was screaming out a challenge. He was being honest, brutally so. The kind of honesty that doesn't wear cologne, it doesn't rehearse its lines. It's the kind of honesty that kind of smells like whiskey breath at 2 a.m. and still makes more sense than a TEDx talk sometimes. So I researched this guy, and he was a man. His face literally was like a battlefield, and his past about matched it. He was born in 1920s in Germany, and talk about a rough and wild place to come into life. Obviously, I can think of many places that I would rather grow up than in Germany in the 1920s. The seeds of Nazism were being planted, and then of course they would erupt into the 30s and into the 40s. The world of Germany was still utterly decimated in the 20s from World War I, and can imagine it was a real rough existence. The kind most of us in our cushy, soft United States, we can't even fathom this. And the kind where eating 3 meals a day was probably a luxury, and getting a little bit of heat in the winter months would have just been an amazing thing. But anyway, Bukowski, he was uprooted as a kid. And he was dragged to LA, raised under the boot of a father who basically mistook parenting for combat. Luckily, he didn't have to face, Bukowski didn't, the inhumanity of World War II Germany, but he was living out his own version of hell on earth here in the United States. He was mentally abused, physically beaten throughout his entire childhood. There was no happy American dream story for Bukowski. With all the physical abuse, the mental traumatization, and to top it off, sadly, his acne had really wrecked his face, almost to the point of disfigurement. And as a teen, we know how difficult that whole thing could be, but he had it incredibly bad. And then couple that with just incredible poverty. He really grew up in a very difficult environment. So he retreated from the real world into his writing. He grew up into an adult. He wrote a ton of poems on bar napkins while working a bunch of dead-end jobs, and he was known to be a heavy drinker, drinking to forget the trauma, the poverty, the depths of his life. That really didn't have any emotional love, had no physical comforts, and a ton of mental baggage to deal with. So, as you can see, Bukowski had it pretty rough, very rough, and yet, in the middle of it all, he scribbled out these words and that are so profound. We're eaten up by nothing. After learning about who he was and what he faced growing up, these words even struck me deeper. We're eaten up by nothing. We're eaten up by nothing. Nothing. Not war, not famine, nothing. Trivialities. Status gains. In our world, arguments on social media over my politician is better than yours, or why are you so stupid for voting for X, as if you were really like me and so smart, you would never be so confused. I mean, the kind of social media and media flexing we get wrapped up in, that's the kind of nothing. Tuesday deadline for that so important project. The existential junk food we gorge on to avoid confronting the fact that the circus tent that we live in is coming down, and the clowns, that's us. We don't get to live forever. And those clowns, just in case you haven't figured it out, that's you, that's me, that's, every single one of us. So today, we're going to step into the mud of this philosopher who had a really rough life. We're going to take on big topics just for a few minutes here today in the midst of our study on education, on morality, love, distraction, meaning, all through Bukowski's half-drunk, full-truth lens. Let's see if you can't think critically, or let's see if you can improve your critical thinking when you're swept away. And all of us are in this postmodern world. I mean, it is. It's like an avalanche of disinformation, fake news, deceptive news, rage baiting, experts telling you that you must do this on one channel, then turn the channel, and another expert on another channel is telling you to do the exact opposite. Hear about an event, get two completely opposite versions of reality. Come on, let's be honest with each other. The world is swirling, just swirling constantly, just with infinite information. And more information, and heck, you can't get what's true, false, up, down, left, or right. Jesus, it's enough to make us all go crazy. But let me slow down here 1 second. Let's just go right from the beginning. And if you think this sounds heavy, don't worry. It's kind of funny also along the way, and Bukowski wouldn't want it any other way, I don't think. And if I've learned anything, is people sure are funny. We are funny. Sometimes we are stupid funny, but funny nonetheless. So take this heaviness with just an air of a little bit of lightheartedness as we go. So let's break down this very simple 2-line quote. And so the first thing he says is, we're all going to die. What a circus. We are terrorized and flattened by trivialities. We are eaten up by nothing. People love pretending that death is optional. We obsess over our skincare routines, fitness hacks, 401ks, like we're prepping for immortality. Meanwhile, the Grim Reaper doesn't care if you're a paleo or you're plant-based or anywhere in between. Look, the truth is this. And okay, I'm going to admit it. If I'm kind of a poor man's version of a biohacker. I don't have the millions and millions to spend on health. And if I'm honest, if I had it, I just might drop more than a few bucks on it. But the truth is, when it is time, it's time. And well, we get so caught up in this notion that we get to choose how long we get to be here in this circus of life. And come on, if you knew you were going to die in a month or 3 months, how much of all the things you stress about would you utterly and completely forget about instantaneously? I think there's some sort of a famous quote, something like, a healthy person has many wishes in life, but a sick person only has one. There's so much truth to this, but you know, we all need to consider this and consider it strongly. Bukowski's circus metaphor, it's not just poetic, it's precise. He's calling out the absurdity of pretending this ride lasts forever. That we're juggling nonsense while when the finale is just looming just right in front of us. You know, red nose, 3 rings of animals, bicycles, clowns, acrobats, big shoes, big bands. You know what a circus is like. All of those things scream for your attention when you're under the big tent. But, you know, it's just not true. The Stoics had a fancier version. Memento mori. Remember death. Let it guide you. Buddhism, too. Death isn't to be feared, but faced. Bukowski skips all the religious metaphors and chants and just shouts, hey, you idiot, why don't you look around? You're dying. Why are you doom scrolling or listening to Fox News or CNN? Notice what I did here. I don't care. I'm not interested if you are on Team Red or Team Blue. How can I say this lovingly? Both sides are easily sucked into the vortex while blaming and calling names to the other side. So, you know, I leave your politics up to you, and I respect them whichever way you go. But keep that in mind. You know, seriously, when's the last time you just slowed down enough, stared your own mortality in the face? Not with dread, but curiosity. I mean, really, I challenge you, try it. It's a heck of a filter for what matters. What would you do if you knew you would die in 1 month or 3 months or 1 year? What would you make sure you connect with? What would you deem essential versus garbage? Just mentally go through that exercise just for a moment, even maybe while you're listening here. I mean, it can really be eye-opening. So, we're all going to die, all of us. What a circus. And then the next part is pretty intense. That alone should make us love each other, but it doesn't. That alone should make us love each other, but it doesn't. This line really hits like one of his bar stools falling over. If we're all doomed, and we are, shouldn't we be building unity instead of drawing these random battle lines? Shouldn't death be the great equalizer? Because actually it is the great equalizer, and it should be the reason we stop keeping score and start being kind. No, really think about your own clouded issues and anger you have towards friend, family, or others. Oh, that righteous indignation that somebody doesn't think like you or follow a line with you or did something to you or hurt you in some way. Do you do this at all? Do you pass judgment on others? Do you leave the space and room in your mind for different opinions, ideas, or actions that you don't believe Or is your mind so shut off, or worse, you can't even control your anger and emotions and literally lash out at other people? If that's you, maybe, just maybe, it's time to stop and self-reflect. Because if I'm honest, I do it, and you probably do too. We humans, we hoard, we judge, we isolate, we build walls. Our egos leave no room for being wrong. We stoke fear, or we get anxiety riddled over the what ifs. We hold false illusions of being better than someone else. Bukowski saw it all from the floor of the dive bars that he hung out in, watching broken people long for connection and sabotage all in the same breath. I think we can all see it too in our lives and the world around us. Still, there's always glimmers of hope. Let's not be ultra negative here. Every time a disaster strikes, a flood, a hurricane, 9/11, for those of you that can remember that, when firefighters rushed into the towers as others were rushing out to save their lives, a fire, a pandemic, people show up for each other. Strangers in weird ways become families. The circus tents sort of burn up momentarily, and it feels great. It shows us we have the capacity for good. But when's the last time you felt that jolt of human connection, that flicker of love from someone unexpected? It's there. It's in humanity. It's always been there. We just forget it far too easily. And so, on to the next section. We're all going to die, all of us. What a circus. That alone should make us love each other, but it doesn't. This is the line that just killed me. We are terrorized and flattened by trivialities. We are eaten up by nothing. I mean, for me, that line was like a punch to the throat. I'm going to read it again slower. We are terrorized and flattened by trivialities. We are eaten up by nothing. Bukowski nailed the modern human condition before it even had Wi-Fi. Look around. Those doom scrollings, those performative outrages that we see, identity built on hashtags, hot takes. We've let pixels turn us into prisoners, and for what? I have to talk about politics here, because politics is the new blood sport. We got MAGA versus woke. We got cousins at war over memes, for goodness sake. We have whole families that cut each other off over bumper stickers. Are you kidding me? But if we zoom out even further, and it's absurd, these politicians that people are dying on hills for, they don't even know your name. They're not losing sleep over your arguments. You're the one being eaten up by nothing. Let's face it, we're being played. We're being played for impressions, money, clicks, played by the most absurd, simpleton language by politicians to minimize, isolate, and capture you and me, and it's working. If it didn't work, they wouldn't do it. I would say the media, the government, the corporations, and the schools, and you can throw all kinds of things in there. They need to do better. Of course they need to do better. It's an obvious statement. But as my thinking's been evolving, sort of come to the conclusion that it's sadly almost a waste of breath and a waste of headspace. How about this instead? How about all of us, you and I, do better? And not allowing ourselves to be captured ideologically. That is the one solution that we can put into practice. All of us, in our own ways, in our own world. But it's not just politics. Same goes for money and status, the grind, the hustle, the empty ladder climb. You miss birthdays, you skip weekends, you trade presents for promotions, and wake up wondering why your kids don't talk to you and where in the world all the time went. The time that you traded for what? A good presentation in a meeting, a promotion, a couple extra dollars here or there. The people who build empires will die the same as you and I. No difference. Their funeral might be fancier and bigger, but guess what? They go underground, just like everyone else. And over time, they're going to be forgotten, like everybody else. Oh, and you might say, oh, but some people will live on forever in history. Yeah, well, some do, as far as we know, at least our history. But what good did it do them? They're dead, dead. Just like you and I will be dead, dead. Bukowski's point: politics, money, career, stuff. Those are the wrong stakes to claim to place your entire life on. If you are sucked into this, you have been played. You have been used as a pawn, a useful idiot by playing the wrong game. Again, I say this in the most respectful way. Heck, I've been the useful idiot myself on more than a few occasions. And if you're honest, you have been too. And if you're saying to yourself, oh, not me, I've never been played as the useful idiot. I've got it all figured out. Well, I say this kindly and I say it compassionately. You are probably one right now. If you can't lay your ego down to see the way the world is, the circus world operates to control our minds, that you, my friend, are actually playing the part of the useful idiot and saying that you're not one. Because we've all been there. There's a little bit of humility needed by every one of us. So what in the world is the exit to this mess? Well, if you think I have the answer to this age-old question, sorry, I don't have it. I wish I did, but I only have a few things in reading some of Bukowski and other philosophers that might help your thinking, your critical thinking skills, and just some things for you to consider. None of it is grand and none of it is sexy, because usually the most effective plans are the most straightforward and simple. But how about this for a starter? Pause before you tweet, post, outrage bait, or even open your mouth sometimes. Say no to the meeting that's killing your soul. Hug your kid before you stop asking for one. Take a deep breath if you find yourself hearing things you disagree with. Just simply agree to disagree. You don't have to convince everybody of your side every single time, because you won't. Look, here's the truth. There are people that I feel comfortable having political conversations with, as I know that it can stay on a level that is a good give and take, fun, or even hard. But I know the conversation in the dialogue is one that won't lead to relationship blow up. But some people in this world simply lack the capacity to have an open, honest dialogue without getting defensive, without it reverting to yelling and screaming and cutting off relationships. You know in your life the people that you can have an open conversation with and those that you can't. And so for those that you can't, just kindly, respectfully change the topic and move on. Keep the relationship, end the conversation. Not everyone is in the same headspace intellectually with the same capacity to think critically. I hope and wish for everyone to have people in their lives that can talk about really heated and contentious topics in an amicable or intellectually honest way, and then go about your business. But if those people, and you know who they are, can't do it, let them be. And then for me, like I already mentioned, go through this exercise. If you had 3 months to live, what would you spend your time with? And who would you spend your time with? What wouldn't you do? Consider this seriously. I mean it. Sort of puts this crazy thing in life in perspective. Just do those things. That's it. Just start right there. You know, Bukowski, he was a mess. He truly was. He had an incredibly rough life, but he was clear. And clarity like that, earned through scars and rejections and and rot gut wine. It's very rare. So I hope you enjoyed this. But the truth is, you begin saving the world by saving one person at a time. And so the translation with that is, you need to start with you, and I need to start with me. Look at what's flattening you out. Name it. Is it politics? Is it a job? Is it a substance abuse? Is it a phone, doom scrolling that owns you? Then take one step, just one, towards something real. You don't have to be a saint. You don't have to be perfect. Just gotta take a stab at it. And that's my challenge to you. Take a stab at it. Because what you're doing actually when you do these things is you're building critical thinking muscle. And to swing it all the way back to education, if you know how to think critically, I don't care what career you go into in the end, you're going to have healthy, strong relationships. You're going to make better decisions, and you're probably going to have a highly successful career, because that skill is never ever going to go out of style, and it's never going to be eaten up by AI. So with that, hey, I appreciate you listening through this entire episode, and if this sparks something in you, share it with someone lost in the scroll, someone who needs a reminder that love is possible and meaning is worth fighting for. Whoever you think could get value out of this, I'd appreciate it. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and remember that circus is optional, and we'll be back again next week with another episode.